Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at InDigital.net.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Dispatch.
There is no one over here to cook our lunch. We are waiting for our lunch, and there's no one here to cook our lunch.
All right, calm down. Where are you at?
The group home. Now, what are you going to do?
We'll get some help over there for you, okay?
Welcome to Open Mic, where we visit the lighter side of dispatch, because laughing is good medicine. Hey, what is going on? Welcome back to Open Mic Live. It is March 9th, 2025. Man, time is just flying. And also, we're getting into peak conference time as well. About now through like June, it's just going to keep picking up and it continuing, whether it be conferences or classes that I'm teaching. It's a lot. There's a lot of things that are going to be coming up. So I'm really excited. This live broadcast is sponsored by InDigital, a leader next gen core services. Big shout out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast. And just welcome back. It's been a week. It has been a week, and I'm happy to be here. The weather has been kind of weird. It's been going back and forth depending on where you're at. I'm in Indiana, so it has been going back and forth. I mean, let's see, it's Sunday, so on Friday it was snowing like fat flakes. It was snowing, and then like yesterday and today it has been warm. Well, I don't know. It's been kind of weird, so I don't know how it is out where you're at, but welcome back, as I said. And we've got a lot to talk about today, as always. But before we get into everything that we're going to be talking about, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being shitty, 10 being awesome, how are you doing? How are things? How are things going? I'm coming in at probably about an 8. Yeah, it has been good. There's been some stuff going on with the family and everything, but thank the Lord, everything is good, and we move on. We continue. But yeah, I'm coming in at an 8. So everyone who is watching right now, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, X, or Instagram, or over here on TikTok, what is your number? Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being shitty, 10 being awesome, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What number are you coming in at? We'll see what everyone has. We got a bunch of people jumping in over here on Instagram, and yeah, folks jumping in all over the place. So what up? What up? Things are good. As I said, it is March 9th, and episode 592 went out. That episode was with That was with Maddie and Casey. That was out at New Hanover County, and wow, that that was an episode, man. Just a lot of the stuff they were talking about. It was cool to talk with them. I believe, if I remember correctly, um, Maddie was 6 months in, and Casey was 5 years in. So there was a lot that we were going through, and maybe it was flip flop. Maybe it was the other way around. And if it was, my bad. I don't have my notes right here, and I'm trying to remember everything, but um, it was it was a great episode. And I mean, they're all great, right? All of them have just powerful stories, but some of the things that they were talking about as well was, um, they worked during Hurricane Helene, and they were talking about it a little bit. Oh, wait, let me look over here really quick on Instagram. My friend Karen, what up, Karen? Coming in at a quarter of a tank. Oof. But at an 8. Okay, so that's good. That is good. I dig that. That is excellent. Um, Depending on where you're at, what conference you're doing, or where you're at, though, my friend, I know that all the good stuff that you do will help fill that tank again, and you will continue doing the amazing stuff that you do. I love it. But yeah, and coming in at an 8, that is good. That's a good number. That is definitely a good number. Um, so while I was talking to Maddie and Casey, and it's towards the end of the episode. Again, this is episode 592. The clip is out there. I put a clip out there and everything for this one specific spot that I'm talking about. And they mention how, oh, I see my homie over here. Leah is jumping in as well. Hello, hello. Karen says, I'm home. Oh, okay. Well, you know, being at home, being with the family, I'm sure that is going to also fill your cup. Relaxing, hanging out with the family, and filling that cup that way as well. I do the same thing. When I've been traveling a bunch and I come home, I hang with the family, and especially, with the kids, sometimes we'll be playing video games and stuff or watching pro wrestling or something, and that gets me ready to go for wherever else I'm going next, or recording episodes, or whichever. It is always fun. So I'm digging it. Um, so I'm not going to play the clip or anything. Like I said, it's out there. I'm just going to kind of talk through it. And I know this is open mic is supposed to be more the lighthearted part, right? But this is just, I just want to mention it because, man, I can't, it's hard to imagine, because we're in 911, right? And we're taking all of these calls, and we're sending help. But to think for a moment that you would have to tell people, hey, um, there's no one coming. Like, there's no one I can send you because the weather, everything is so bad in those moments that you have to tell people to get to higher ground. And I'm pretty sure there's a part in there where one of them says, just get to higher ground and basically pray. There's nothing else we can do for you. And that has got to be one of the hardest things to be able to, or to have to say to someone. Um, I, that again, that is hard to imagine. Leah over here on Instagram says, ugh, that is so sad and scary. Yeah, no, for sure. Because even they say on there, like, never would I have thought that I would have to tell people that. And I have had others on in the past who have talked about um hurricanes and stuff like this, where they've had to tell callers, get out of where you're at if you can safely, and get to higher ground if you can do so safely. Like, it's their choice, and you have to tell them, like, it's your choice, get to higher ground. And it's just every time I've recorded an episode like that, I'm just sitting there. I'm listening, right? I'm listening to understand, not listening to respond. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what? Like, because I'm living through that, right, with them, through their story, and I can feel it from them, how hard it was, but also trying to think like, damn, if that was me, like, how do you even decompress from that? So it's a tough thing, but also to be able to lean on your people that are there, that's a really good thing as well, because we're the ones who know what it's like. We know what it's like to go through this. Maybe not so much like a hurricane and stuff, but just that concept of, um, just in general, taking a hard call. That is something. So if you have not listened to that episode, it's episode 592. And again, that's with Maddie and Casey, 911 professionals out of New Hanover County 911. The next episode that's going to be coming out, episode 593, that is with Carmen. And same with New Hanover County. This was when I was out in North Carolina back in January, and I was recording with all of them. And the Imagine listening sessions that I recorded during the time that I was there, those sessions are going to be on the separate yet new podcast that's going to be dropping soon. And that's a standalone Imagine listening / open mic um podcast where you're going to hear those stories, and it's just stories, no interview piece. The interview piece and all of that will remain Within the Trenches podcast, but the Imagine listening sessions and even some of my personal stories, I will be sharing those on that show. So I've been going back and forth. I talked about this last week. And also, by the way, if you were here last week and you saw that I had to like drop everything really fast, the internet is good now. The internet, the internet is working well. So, woo, good for that. Um, yeah, maintenance crap that goes on sometimes, not always the best when I'm trying to do something live. But yeah, everything is good there, and just look out for that episode. It's going to be some good ones. But also, like I was mentioning last week, I was asking everyone about what would be the best way to do this, whether it be, um, because sometimes true crime podcasts, it is episode after episode after episode, true crime, right? And some of them are heavy. And the Imagine listening sessions are definitely heavy. Like there are some saves in there, and lighter moments. But the way someone had put it to me was, so if I was driving for like 6 hours straight and I was listening to Imagine listening, where's the balance? And when I do the sessions, um the first 30 minutes is the heavier part, or even with some of those saves, right? And then the last 30 minutes is the open mic piece where we're sharing the lighter side of dispatch, some of the funny calls. And it's the situation that we are kind of laughing about, right? And just because those situations, it's not about the callers. We are there to help the callers. So that's something that I always want to make sure that people know. It's like we're there to help people. The stuff that we are joking around about or laughing about in the open mic piece is just the situation, because sometimes you get a phone call and you're like, what is going on? It's like watching America's Funniest Home Videos at home and you're laughing with your family and you're like, this is crazy. Like, it's not about the person, it's about the situation, like someone climbing something and falling off or whatever. And you're like, dude, I can't believe that just happened. So it's the same thing, and a lot of people know as well, especially in a profession like this or medical field or anything like that. If you don't have some sort of humor, whether it be dark humor or whatever, to get through what it is that you're doing, you're going to burn out a lot faster. You'd probably be crying more than anything else. So that's what that's all about. But I've always done it where it's one episode, right, of the heavy part, and the next episode is the lighthearted, more of the funnier stories. And that has always worked. I've done it for about 8 years now, and it has always worked. So some people have said, like, why would you change it? If it's working, why would you change it? And my thought process was just, well, sometimes people are, and other people have said too, like, it would break up the vibe of what Imagine Listening is. But another person said, well, you called it Imagine Listening for a reason, because you wanted people to imagine listening these calls, whether it be a heavy call or a lighthearted call. So we need that balance. It's the way you do it in the session. It's the way people probably need it listening to it as well. And because it's not just, now that I think about it as well, it's not just one story, right? Like it's just, for example, a true crime podcast. It's one story for that episode. And Imagine Listening isn't a true crime podcast or anything like that. I'm just making a comparison. Um, but Imagine Listening, whether it be the written stories when I'm reading and recording them, or it's the live audience that is sharing their stories, it is story after story after story, and they're all different. It's not just one that you're like learning about all of this stuff. They are all different. And sometimes it is very heavy, and you need that balance. So that is what I'm going to do, is I'm definitely going to have that balance. I'm looking back over here at Instagram really quick. And for those who are throwing in reactions and everything, thank you very much. Make sure to share this. We can get more people coming in as well. Leah over here says, I observed a dispatcher on Monday evening. Not a lot of action, but it was so interesting. 8 monitors, and she made it look so easy. I was in total awe. Dude, for real. Yeah. And you know what? That's what happens. For anybody else who's watching and listening right now who have experienced doing a sit along or having other people come in to do a sit along and they're sitting with you, there are times where you're like, nothing is going on. They're not going to know what it's really like. Oh, man. Yeah. But then when stuff really does happen and it's going crazy, and the person who's doing the sit along like stays for a few hours, yeah, that's how we would know in my center that someone was really interested in doing it. Like, they didn't just stay an hour, they stayed. Like, sometimes people would stay for 4 hours, 6 hours. Like, it was crazy. But it was awesome too, because like I said, that showed that someone was really into it. Now, let me also say though that sometimes people can't stay that long, and they don't, and that's completely fine. They're really into it, they love it as well, but they can't stay that long. So I want to make sure to say that, because it's not just because the person doesn't dig it. Sometimes life happens, right? Life happens. You got to go. So let's see. Leah also says, I love the mixture of both personally, just like how dispatch can go from a really intense call to a funny call immediately after. It feels more true to the job. Oh, there you go. I love that. Thank you. Yes, no, you are correct. You are definitely correct. Also, she said sit with day shift to see more variety in calls. That's true. That's true too. Leah also says, I was there for 4 hours. I'd like to stay all night. Oh, okay. See? And they're right. And depending on the area, there might be more things that are going on during the day. Like in where I was at, um, like, days there wasn't really a lot of stuff going on. Okay. But it was mostly like administration calls, stuff like that. But I loved midnight shift. So midnight shift and dispatch was my jam. I was all about that. And we would have some of the craziest calls happen. And it's sometimes there are those moments where you're like, what? Like, I remember one night, I'm going off script here a little bit. Oh wait, Leah says small town, mostly utility calls. Yeah. Yep, I definitely know that. So I'm going off, like I said, I'm going off script here a little bit because I wanna mention a call. And so this call, I remember, and I've talked about this before. I've talked about it on the podcast before, and I talk about it in the class that I teach as well. And it's when we're talking about being with our trainers, and sometimes we want to do such a good job that we're just like repeating, like parroting what what they're saying. And so I'm in training. My trainer is listening on the good old umbilical cord, and I'm taking this call, and it's a medical. And this guy calls in, and I chuckle about it now, but mostly not because of the guy, just because it makes me think like, how did that even happen? But not just that, what happened with my trainer? Okay, so here we go. So I'm already laughing. This is so bad. I take this call, and this guy is like, you can tell there's something wrong. Like, you can tell he's in pain. He's a truck driver, okay? And he ends up saying, so I get all the information, right? Ready to tone out. What happened though was he stopped at a rest area, and he went to use the bathroom. And I don't know if he was in a hurry, or what happened. I don't know how it happened. Maybe it just out of nowhere, or maybe he was startled. I don't know. But here's the thing. He zipped up his junk into the zipper. Yeah. And as he's telling me this, I kind of remember my eyes just like just like opening up, and I kind of look over at my trainer, and we're going through this, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I need to put you on hold really quick so that I can page out an ambulance for you. And he's like, yeah, no, go ahead, do what you got to do what you got to do. And yes, Leah, yes. Leah over here on Instagram says, "Oh no, a real something about Mary situation." Yes, that's basically what it is. And if those who are watching and listening right now, if you don't know something about Mary, look it up. I'm pretty sure the clip is on YouTube. But yeah, so it was like that, and in my head, I'm just like, "Oh my god, no." So I put them on hold. Yes, poor guy. I put him on hold so that I can page it out. But here's the thing, for whatever reason, because of what the situation was, like my mind went blank really fast. And I look over at my trainer and I go, how do I even put that out? Like, what do I say over the radio? Because I'm thinking there's certain things that I can and cannot say, right? Excuse me. So I'm trying to think about what to say. And this is happening within seconds. Like, this is, I'm not taking like 5-10 minutes. That's not how it works. This is happening super fast. And I just look at her and I'm like, how do I even put this out? And she goes, just say penis problems. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So I tone it out and I give it over the air as penis problems. And EMS has me like repeat it. And when I'm done, and right before, oh wait, Leah goes, laugh my ass off. No, thank you. I would not want to say that. Well, here's the thing. I say it right, and right before I get back on the line with the caller, I look at my trainer and her jaw is dropped. It's dropped. And I said, "What? What?" And she goes, "I can't believe you said that." And I said, What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're my trainer. You told me to say that." So I get back on the phone, and as I'm telling the person, like, the ambulance is coming, and just like, stay as comfortable as possible, going through the pre-arrival instructions and everything. I'm like, "Do you want me to stay on the line with you? I can stay on the line with you, if you would like me to." And he's like, "No, it's fine. You've got help coming my way. Everything is good." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, if anything changes or anything like that, call back and I'll be here." And he goes, "Okay, thank you so much." Now he didn't call back. They got there, they didn't transport him or anything. He ended up being fine. But I just remember looking at my trainer. I'm like, "Bro, like, you told me to say it. I'm in training. I'm going to parrot what you are telling me to say." But and so she was chuckling about it as well, and I was like, "Man, you better not mark me down on that because I did what you said. The person's gonna be okay." Um, yeah, Leo over here says, "I'd have thought I was being pranked." Like, oh, yeah. Well, the I had some stuff happen when I was in dispatch, and, it was a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of hell that is a 911, right? But there were some moments that I remember that were good moments. There were funny moments as well. Um, for example, I remember, and I talk about this in episode 593. This episode that's, if you're a subscriber of the podcast, you already have it. It's already out there. Because subscribers of the podcast, they get like I know people are like, "I subscribe to your podcast already." You are correct. However, there's subscriptions for those on like Patreon where they get bonus episodes or ad-free episodes, stuff like that. So if you're one of those subscribers, you already have this episode. Otherwise, it's going to come out on Wednesday. And there there's a part that we're talking about, like, sit-alongs, we're talking about ride-alongs, and I talk about a ride-along moment that I had, because at one point, I was riding with one of my officer friends, and her and I would sit stationary, and we would just clock people as they were coming. Like, this would be on the weekend, didn't have anything else I was doing, so I'd go, "Hey, you mind if I ride along with you for a few hours?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, it's probably not going to be anything going on anyway. We're just going to sit around." And I was like, "Hey, I'm down with that. That's fine." And there were some times where we were going lights and sirens to places, but this one specific time, this is so bad. This one specific time, we're sitting there and we're clocking people, and I think it was either a Friday or a Saturday that this was going on, and we're just guessing what their speed is going to be before we actually, clock them. And of course, she was always getting it right on because she was trained. I was always off by 4 or 5 miles. I'm like, ah. So we would just be there. And this one specific night, like, there was a place in this small little town where I dispatched, where I very first started dispatching, and they had this dance hall. Okay. And on the weekends, they would have dances that were going on, and like Mexican, like Tejano type bands, like all of these different bands would come in. They would do Tejano music, they would do cumbias, and people would go there and just doom, 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 like, just be getting down, like, just busting out a cumbia, just getting down. I never went to the dances or anything, but I knew that they were going on. Also, the reason I would not usually go is because it never failed that there would always be a fight or something, and I didn't want the drama. Um, Plus I was always working, so I didn't really get to go. But this night, I did get to go because there was a fight that happened. We're sitting there stationary. Okay. Again, stationary, just clocking people as they're going through. And the tones go off. And it's for a fight that's going on at this dance hall. And we flip the switch and we are hauling ass. Which I say we were hauling ass, but it was for like, I don't know, a mile or two. So really we weren't hauling that much ass. We were driving fast. Lights and sirens to get to this little dance hall. Now, when you pull in, it's a small little building, okay? And then the parking lot is enormous, but it's just land. It's not pavement, it's just like dirt and some patches of grass. And like you would go by and you could see um you would be able to see the huge buses that were there from the bands that were coming in. And whoever here on TikTok just threw out some hearts, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, so I would be able to see these buses and stuff when the bands would be there or whichever. And so we're hauling ass there, okay? And as we're pulling up and into the parking lot, what I see is a security guard walking out with a guy just like dressed like looking slick. You got the button up, kind of opened up so that you can see the chain. You got the cowboy hat on, wearing some boots, like I said, looking slick. But the security guard is holding him by the arm, pulling him out. Okay? And they're walking out and he's not like fighting with him, but he's kind of pulling a little bit to be like, let go. Like I can walk by myself. And we're rolling up, and as we're rolling up, another guy walks out, and I'm assuming this was the other guy that was part of this fight. But he wasn't doing anything at all. Also dressed up, looking slick, wasn't doing anything at all. Okay, so you've got the two, security guard and guy one, walking up front. You've got this other dude walking out of the dance hall and in back of them a little bit, just walking, just chilling, just minding his business as he's walking with them wherever they're going to stand as we're pulling in. And another security guard runs out of the building, gets in front of the guy who's not doing anything, pulls out pepper spray and just starts spraying the shit out of his face. Now, as this happens, the moment the spray hits his face, the guy starts yelling, "Ay Dios, por qué Dios, por qué Dios?" Which translation in English is, "Oh God, why God? Why God, why?" And I'm like, is this actually happening right now? And all of this happens so fast as we're rolling up. And I'm like trying not to chuckle because it's like something you would see in The Simpsons. And just like the reaction of this person, like, I don't know that I would ever think to react with, oh, like, Dios, por qué Dios? Like, God, why God? Like, I don't know if I would say that. And so just to hear that out of nowhere, and the officer looks at me and she goes, what happened? What is he saying? And I told her, and she's like, okay, well, now I have to go over there and deal with this. So they end up figuring it all out. The people ended up being fine. It's just I could not believe it. I could not believe what I was, not just what I was seeing, but what I was hearing. And the officers were like, "Why did you spray him?" And they're like, it sounded like this was like this was a long time ago. It was like 20 years ago. But I think the person was just saying, like, just in case. And we're like, he wasn't doing anything. Oh man, it was something. That was one of my early ride-alongs, and it's one that I'll never forget because that guy and the way he was yelling, "Why God, why?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, this is actually happening. Over here, Leah says, "I'm starting the Citizens Academy this week, and we get to do a ride along at the end. I'm super excited for that." Yeah, Awesome. I hope you enjoy it. I hope there's a lot of stuff that happens. And Hunter, what's going on, man? Hello, and welcome. Um, yeah, the ride-alongs are a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff that can happen. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about, but we got plenty of time, so I'm going to tell you one more story. I remember on one of my other ride-alongs, there was so it was Mother's Day. Okay, it was Mother's Day. This is now I'm in Michigan, and I'm doing a ride along there, and is not what I expected because there was a lot of different things that were going on. Oh wait, over here. Uh, did a ride along at my agency and got to mess with my fiance and pulled him over. Yes. Oh, that is awesome. See, and stuff like that can happen as well. When there's nothing going on, sometimes cool stuff like that can happen. That is awesome. I dig that. Uh so I'm trying to think of which one it was. Oh, Mother's Day. It was on Mother's Day, okay? So I'm there and I'm training, I'm doing my ride along. It's on Mother's Day, or maybe it's the day before Mother's Day. I'm trying to remember now. Again, this was a long ass time ago, okay? And oh, looking over here, my homie Erica just jumped in. What up, yo? Yeet. Yeet. How's it going? And so I remember going in and there was a term that I learned for the first time. Like I'd never heard this before, but I'm with this officer, okay? Funny dude. But also I'm all dressed up, I'm taking notes, and I'm just following along with what's going on, and we're just talking, I'm just asking questions. He's probably like, "Shut the fuck up." Because I was asking so many questions, but I wanted to learn, I wanted to know more, and because I was hearing everything, on one side, it was cool to be in the cruiser and learn all of this stuff as well. So, the first call that we go to is a, destruction of property. MDOP. Just malicious destruction of property is what we went out to. And we get there, and I'm just chilling in the car, and I'm listening to what they're talking about. And this guy had called because someone had completely torn apart his yard and knocked over some like gnomes or some shit. Like he had some stuff in his yard, like it was destroyed. It was straight up destroyed. And wait, over here, Leah says, haha, I'm the same way. I want to ask questions too, but I don't want to be annoying. It'll be cool. Like, just go ahead, ask the questions, feel the vibe, see how it see how it is, and judge it from there. So, oh wait, LOL, not the gnomes. Yes, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that was knocked over. So what the guy was saying though was that he was pretty sure that it was his brother. He was pretty sure that it was his brother because he also thought that maybe his brother was he was just doing some shady shit. I'll put it that way. And so we end up taking the report. We'd leave, and we're just riding along, doing some other things. I think we pulled over a couple people, and I think maybe there was like a peace officer complaint where we had to stand by while they were removing some stuff, and then we went to go sit in the parking lot because he had to write up some paperwork, and I was writing up a bunch of stuff as well. And then he ends up saying to me, "So, um, are you hungry, dude?" He's like, "You want to get some dinner?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I could eat. Yeah, let's do this." And he goes, "All right." He goes, "How do you feel about Yardbird?" And I went, "What?" I had never heard that term before. It sounds so stupid to say that out loud now, but seriously, I had not heard that before. And I said, "What? Do I want what?" And he goes, "Yardbird." And I said, Yardbird? And he goes, Yard bird. And I started laughing really hard. And I said, I said, dude, I have no idea what you're saying. I honestly don't. And he starts laughing, and I had that awkward moment where I'm just sitting there going, like, what? And he goes, yes, Leah, you are right. Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad that you dig the laugh. But before he tells me that it's chicken, he says, you weren't on a farm, were you? Like, you've not been around a farm a lot, have you? And he was a farm boy. And I said, no. And he goes, well, I'm a farm boy. That's what we called it. And I said, called what? And he's like, chicken. And I was like, chicken, yard bird. It makes so much sense. I was like, yes, I would like some chicken. It was so fucking stupid. But yeah, so during that ride along, I was introduced to Yardbird, something that I love eating, fucking chicken, but I'd never heard it called that before. Oh, Leo over here says, laugh my ass off. I can't believe you lived in Central Florida and didn't know. No, dude. I'm originally from Southwest Michigan. I ended up going to Florida for just 2 weeks, but I stayed there for like 4 years, and that's where my whole um career started in dispatch. But even while I was there, no one ever used that terminology of yard bird. So we go, and there's other officers there. We go to sit down to eat, and we had already made our order, and we we're sitting there, and we hear doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Elegant Central to all Eastside units. Respond to an MDOP in progress. And then they give the address, and I look at the officer, and I was like, dude, we were just there. That's us. So we left without the order, of course. We were like, we got to go. And they're like, okay. It was just about done. We're like, well, we got to come back for it. So we run to the car. We jump in, get on the highway, because luckily where we were at, it was literally right off the highway. And we jump on the highway and we start hauling ass north. Lights and sirens, okay? Here's the thing though. No one ever told me, hey, brace yourself. Brace yourself, because I've got my seatbelt, right? But as we're going through traffic and going to get there, especially when we were going on, I'm like, and I finally braced myself, and the officer's looking at me, and he's like, ha, ha, ha. He's laughing at me as we're going, and we're getting all of this information, and I'm like, dang, like this is what it's like on this end. This is crazy. And we're going through traffic, right? And there was an elderly couple that was ahead of us, and they would not move out of the way, and he keeps going, whoop, 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 whoa, whoop, whoop. And they're just like waving, and we're like, we're not saying hello. They finally go off. We pass them. So we get there, we get to the house, and sure as shit, it was the brother. It was the brother. But get this, the brother was also in love with his sister-in-law, which was his brother's wife. So they had like this Jerry Springer thing going. And I'm sitting shotgun while the officer is out there dealing with them, okay? The brother, the guy who lives there, he's standing off to the side. Like he's being cool. But his brother who is there, like the wife tried to pull him into the house. And the officer's like, nah, son, that's not happening. Pulls him out and brings him, like, cuffs him and puts him in the back of the car, for his safety, for both of their safeties. Cuffs him and puts him in the car. Now, nobody was physically fighting, nothing like that. They were just yelling at each other. But the officer is talking to the wife and then is talking to the original guy we spoke to, and the brother is sitting in back. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, what is going to happen? Because he's in the car with me. Now, he can't get to me or anything like that. There's plexiglass there. I mean, I guess if he wanted to try really hard, maybe he could. But I'm just sitting there chilling as I'm listening to the deputy talk to the owner of the home. And I as I'm sitting there, okay, the guy who's sitting in back, he starts saying, "Hey, bro. Hey, man." And I'm sitting there and I'm like, do I respond? Like, I don't want to be a dick. Like, do I say something? So I just continue sitting there. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be cool. And then I hear, man, I know you can hear me, dude. And I'm just sitting there still, and he's like, come on, man. Hey. And I finally turn around and I go, what's up? What do you need? And he goes, well, the officer's out there talking to my brother, and I want to give my side of the story. Can you come and let me out, man? And I said, are you for real? And he goes, yeah. I know you have to open it up from the outside. Can you come over here and let me out? And I said, I'm not going to let you out. Like, you have to wait until the officer comes. He told you to wait. He told you. And, and he goes, fine, man. Okay. And I'm just there like, come on, dude, come back to the cruiser already. Well, at this time, the brother, because the officer ends up going to talk to the wife, the brother comes around to the side of the car where his brother is sitting, and he starts going, yeah, got you now, man. Got you now. Who do you think you are? I'm like, oh God, no. Why is this happening? And the dude sitting in back, he's like, yeah, she loves me. She doesn't love you. And I'm just sitting there like, this is really happening right now. Like, I'm in a Jerry Springer episode. And they're yelling at each other, swearing at each other. And I'm just sitting there, slow blinking as everything is happening. And the officer comes back and he's like, what are you doing? Like, talking to the dude who's outside. He's like, get away from the car. He goes, I'm ready. It just, let me figure out this problem with you guys. And ultimately, they stayed. They were fine. We're taking the brother who's sitting in the back. He does get a chance to tell his side, but he's going to spend the night in jail. And we take off, but when we take off, and actually there was one more part that I forgot to mention. Before the brother came back and they started their whole thing, as I'm sitting there and I told him, no, I can't let you out, he starts slamming his head on the plexiglass on the and he's just like, poof, poof. And I said, you need to stop. And he goes, I just want to tell my story, man. I'm like, you will get that chance. But I thought, well, I can't. But like, it was enough where I was like moving forward. And I thought, no way. Like, the dude was fine. Like, he wasn't slamming it, but it was enough that it was making me go forward a little bit. And so we take off and we're taking him to jail and stuff. And he starts yelling at us and he goes, yeah. He's like, you guys always get your man, don't you? You always get your man. You guys are the best. You're the best. And we're just sitting there, and I'm thinking in my head, like, dude, like, I have another layer of appreciation for all of you officers that are out in the field. And what I also love on the same side of that is, like, when officers would come in to try to help us if we had a storm going on or whatever, and they were now living through what we go through as well. They would be in there for like an hour and they'd go, nope, can't do it. I would rather go out and deal with people or sit by a tree that's down to wait for the road commission to cut it up and take it out of the way than what you guys have to deal with. And they would also say to us, like, we have a new respect for you as well because we couldn't do it. So I'm sitting there as we're going in, and we get to the jail, and they start checking him in and stuff, and the people in the drunk tank are like, "Why are you crying?" Like, talking to the guy. I'm like, "Okay, like, I wanna go." But we dropped him off, but he just kept yelling at us that we were the best, and okay, that was something, because after that part, we went out to one last call before I went home for the day, or for that shift. And what it ended up being was a shoplifter complaint. Okay. This was at a place called Meyer. If you're in the Midwest, you know what Meyer is. It's basically Walmart. And, but, Walmart's everywhere. So we go to Meyer and we pull up, and the officer looks at me and he goes, "You don't really need to get off. I'm just going to go in there, take the report, and bring the guy so we can take him to jail." I was like, "All right, man, that's cool." So I'm just sitting shotgun, just chilling, waiting and waiting and waiting. And then they finally, I see them walking out. I'm like, "Oh, thank God." It was taking forever. So they bring him in, and or the officer brings the guy and puts him in the car, handcuffed and everything. Dude didn't say a word. Well, this is what happened, because it was either Mother's Day or Mother's Day was coming up. The reason the dude got picked up for shoplifting, or the reason was shoplifting, but what he shoplifted was a Mother's Day card and a fifth of Jack Daniels. And I was like, "Oh, well, that one kind of sucks." But that's what that ride along itself ended up being. And there was so much stuff that happened. I've done many ride-alongs, and things like that happened. And I thought, "What?" Because I remember going back into dispatch, like, days later, and I told them about some of the stuff, and they were disappointed, they were jealous. They're like, "Dude, you suck. When I was on my ride-along, there was, like, nothing that happened." They're like, "We were just riding, and that was it. You actually had some cool shit happen," and it was very interesting. It was definitely interesting to see how things are out in the field. And I remember one of the ride-alongs was with a state trooper. He was a canine officer. Coolest guy. Had one of the coolest names as well. I'm not going to say his name on here, of course, but he had a very cool name, and his dog was awesome as well. And I remember that when we were getting ready to leave, he goes, "All right, this is where this gun is, and this gun is." And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Why are you telling me all this?" And immediately my eyes pop open, and I'm like, "Okay." And I said, and he goes, "You're probably wondering why I'm telling you all of this stuff, right?" And I said, "Well, yes. Yes, I am." "Why?" And he goes, "Because if something goes wrong, if things go south, you are my backup." And I went, "Okay." I was like, I was not prepared for hearing that, but all right. I'm glad that I have a vest on and everything just in case. So, Yeah, that's how it started. That's how that one started out. And I was like, all right, well, I said, I got you. I said, well, however, we'll do it. Um, Leah over here on Instagram says they sound so fun. I hope I see some action. Yeah, just remember to brace yourself because it might happen where you're going lights and sirens and if you get car sick easily, it might happen. Okay, so I can't. I know I went off on a tangent there, and I mentioned there was other things that I was going to be talking about. We're already going on an hour. Holy hell! I didn't even talk about half of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. Episode 593 coming out. I mentioned that I talk about that one with the spraying and stuff. And so that's in there. That is with Carmen. We have a good conversation. We also talk for like 2 minutes about a movie called Blood In, Blood Out. If you don't know what that is, check it out. It's like the most epic, ultimate Mexican movie. It's only a couple minutes because we had referenced something right before we started recording, but it was awesome to have her on and just hear more about her story. Like for her, she started out as a translator and for the county, and then they told her about dispatch and that there was positions available. So that's how she got into dispatch, was through being an interpreter first. So it was really cool to talk to her, hear her story, and some of the stories that she shared as well was oof. There's some heavy ones in there, but there are some lighthearted moments as well, as with all of the Within Trenches episodes. I have a couple episodes that I'm going to be recording tomorrow as well that I'm really excited about. But again, episode 593 with Carmen, now a professional out of New Hanover, is going to be coming out this coming Wednesday. So make sure to look out for that. And then I mentioned, I've been mentioning this. There have been a few hundred members that have joined. So it's a free community, and it's called The Trenches. It's on a platform called Circle, and currently building it with a bunch of folks right now, just as a place for people to be able to go chat with each other, connect, and continue networking, share some resources. Every single session from the Dare to Be Great virtual events is on there. Every round of the Dispatchers Roundtable is on there as well. And for Dare to Be Great, it's almost 200 hours of free continuing education for 911 professionals and speakers from all over the place in the 911 profession. So make sure to check that out. Join up. I'm in there just about every day saying hello to everyone. Good morning. What is on your agenda for the week? Just kind of checking in with people. New folks are jumping in there saying hello, introducing themselves, building profiles, and asking questions. And we've got the different spaces there. And I'm going to start doing live events on there as well, like every Monday morning, going on there with people and just saying hello, just talking, just to see what everyone is doing and what they're going to be doing. And I'm going to be adding even more going on from there. So again, the free community is there, trying to hit 1,000 members by National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And that is the week of the 14th in April, I believe. So hopefully we can hit that. We're over 500 members already. Woo! Yes, doing very well. So I'm excited for that. Also, I have got a new Dispatchers Roundtable live broadcast coming up. That's going to be this Thursday, and I think we're going to, because the guest that I have, the panelist that I have who's going to be on with me, her name is Carla. Very cool person, awesome, loves the profession, loves what she does, and she is with Chagrin Valley Dispatch out of Ohio, and we are going to be doing round 43 of the Dispatchers Roundtable, and the topic is going to be peer support, why it's needed, and why peers within are the best supporters. And I'm sure we're going to be doing a little more on that as well, or a little more stuff that we're going to be talking about. And over here on TikTok, where do you find the roundtable? So there is a in the community. So I can't add the link on there yet because I don't have I have to gain more followers apparently and before I can actually add a website on TikTok. So if you go to links, and that's links with two eyes .co/WTT podcast, you'll find it there. So when you go to that, just scroll down just a little bit and there's a button there, and that will be that'll show you every single round. um well, once you click on it, that's to join the free community, and then when you get in there, all of it is listed there. But otherwise, for round 43, for the live one, that's going to be live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, as well as, oh, hold on a minute here. TikTok is like, are you still doing stuff? Yes, we are. Okay, there we go. We're back. Um, as well as LinkedIn Live, and I'm gonna try to do it here on TikTok as well. It'll be a little different because you're gonna do is you're only gonna be able to hear my partner and or panelist that is gonna be on there, Carla. But either way, I'm going to be putting on different posts. So if you are following on any of the other ones, you'll be able to check it out as it's going live, or you can check out the replay on demand on your time, on the community, so you can check it out there. Also, if you have any questions, shoot me a message in an inbox, and I'll send you the link as well from there. That'll probably be the easiest way. I'll find you. I'll find you, and I will send you the link through there. So that'll work as well. Let's see. Over here, Leah says on Instagram, does that coincide with Orlando? Yes. Yes, I'll be over there as well. Sometimes I see people talking about how hard dispatching was for them, how they were happier after they left. So I really enjoy hearing from people you interview who love their jobs as dispatchers. And yes, of course, yeah, there are some folks that when they leave and they say they're a lot better off than what they were in dispatch, what you don't hear about a lot of times is what they were going through, not just the calls, but the environment in general. Like they might have been in a center where things just like morale was down, and things just stuff like that. So a lot of times what people will say is like, yeah, they're happier out, but they loved it. And a lot of them end up coming back, or at least doing stuff that is 911 related. So there's a lot of those that go back and forth, but a lot of people, when they do leave and they say, things like that, it's because sometimes the environment that they were in at the time, it just wasn't right for them. And maybe there was a different opportunity that came, or sometimes they end up going to a different center and it's better for them there. So it all depends on the situation. It all depends on, maybe they have a friend at a different center and they ended up going there. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. But yeah, no, it's all of it has been good. And yeah, it goes along with um I'll be in Orlando at the Navigator Conference. So again, this coming Thursday at, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern time is when Carla and I are going to go live for round 43 of the Dispatchers Roundtable, and we are going to be talking about peer support, why it's needed, and why peers within are the best supporters. And of course, from that, I will be making clips and everything to put out everywhere else, and then I'll show you where to go to watch it, and we'll go from there. So I'm really excited about that one. She's super excited about it as well. And after that, the week of the 17th of this month, March 17th, I'm going to be in Texas. I'm going to be posting some clips here pretty soon, the next couple days, this whole week, actually, about the ranch. My good friend Joe Serio of the 360 Dispatcher, he puts on this 911 leadership training event. It's a week long. It is in Bandera, Texas, at the Mayan Ranch, and it is such a great time. So many different things happening there. And of course, the food is phenomenal. But you are in these cabins, man. You're in a cabin for this week, and you're there with dispatchers from all over the country, and you're learning all these different things that have to do with leadership, but also a lot of stuff that has to do with you and how sometimes, we get in our own way. We are also our worst critic. So, there are things with that as well, um, that we talk about. There are different speakers every day. Joe does a big chunk of the sessions, but there are other speakers every single day. And again, it is just such a great time. There's activities after every night. There's also in the saloon area, we do karaoke. There's live music at times. And I close it out with Imagine Listening. And it has been fun. And Joe, if you're watching or you see this, thank you very, very much for the opportunity and the honor and pleasure to close out the ranch when we're out there. It's 3 times a year that we're out there. And if you get a chance, please check it out and go, because as a lot of people have said, it is a life altering experience. And I agree. And so we're going to be out there the week of the 17th. I'm going to be recording a lot of different things, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to being out there with all of you. So anyone who's going to be out there, we're going to have a good time, as always. So that's the ranch. We'll be back out at the ranch. And then from the ranch, literally when I get back, like I'm at home for a day, and then I'm headed out to Kansas City, Missouri. I am going to be teaching out there a 4-hour version of my communications course, but this one is going to be the power of storytelling. And those 4 hours, for the first hour, I share a portion of my story. The second hour, we do Imagine Listening and open mic. And then the last 2 hours is recruitment through the power of storytelling. And it's a unique piece where really we're what we're doing is, one, we're connecting with each other through our stories. And also Imagine Listening is a peer support session. So we do a lot of talking and bonding through sharing stories. Again, the first part is heavy. The second part is the lighthearted, more of the funny stories that we're learning from each other. And then those last 2 hours, that recruitment to the power of storytelling, is to be, hopefully, by the end of it, for everyone to be able to feel a lot better about talking about what it is that they do. Because, of course, a lot of times when we're talking, or when someone asks, "What do you do for a living?" and you're like hesitant, because you know that as soon as you say that you're a 911 dispatcher, that someone is going to say, "So what's the worst call you've ever taken?" And for me, in the beginning, it used to annoy the shit out of me as well. I would think, well, why do they want me to relive that? Like that, they have no idea. But I realized, finally, I got past that, that thought process, because as humans, we're naturally curious, and people are fascinated by it. I mean, why do you think true crime is such a big thing? So instead of thinking that people just wanted me to relive it, I flipped that mindset to public education and started talking about what it is that we do. And also, it was therapeutic for me to talk about it. Now, I didn't go into like hardcore details with calls, right? But I was talking about some of the things that people really wanted to understand. And when people have asked me, well, what's the worst call you've ever taken? I tell them, well, I've taken calls that would give you nightmares. And I say that because that happened to me. But instead, I can give you a funny or outrageous call instead. And a lot of times people would go, Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some of those more like funny, outrageous type things. And that's how it goes. And then I would tell them, and people started to learn and start to learn. So with this 4-hour version of the 8-hour communications course that I do, it's more so to kind of go through and talk about and learn from each other from these stories, because a lot of times people feel alone, but then they realize after hearing some of these stories, like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. There are other people that are going through this as well. And it takes one voice. One person shares, and then another person, and then another person. And it just continues and continues and continues. And that's probably one of the most awesome things, is seeing and hearing people and them feeling comfortable with those around them in a safe space to talk about what it is that they're going through, but also how they have dealt with it, or hear others talk about how they have dealt with it, and it just continues. I mean, there's a person who who was in my class and said, I wasn't exactly sure about how this class was going to go. However, I ended up meeting a few people who are now my closest and most best friends. And it was because of that. It was because of the class, but because of the stuff that we were talking about and how we were able to open up and really learn from each other. And I thought, damn, that's what this is all about. But also, you might be one of those people who gets chosen to do community outreach stuff, or to go to a job fair and talk about what it is that you do. And if that happens, what are you going to say? What are you going to say about what it is that you do? Because it's the way you talk about what it is that you do that will leave that long lasting impression, but also that perception of what it is that you do in our profession of 911. And the way you talk about it and what you share can also motivate and inspire others to join this profession, this career. It's happened. And the reason I say this too is because I have received messages from many people who have heard your stories, whether it be through the I Am 911 movement or folks who have been on the podcast, and have said, I just want to say thank you, because listening to the show and listening to the stories of these folks that have come on to share what it has been like for them, to share their story. I'm now 2 months into training, and it's because of them. It's because of what they do. And it's because people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. That's how much power each and every one of you have in your story, in your voice. So that's what that 4-hour version of the 8-hour class is. And I'm so excited to head out to Kansas City, Missouri to talk with all of you, but also after those 4 hours, like, we have a break. And then those who are there who would like to, who have signed up, I end up recording episodes for the podcast with them. So it is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to go out there. And then in April, I'm going to be back. It sounds like I'll be back in Missouri for the whole 8-hour class. And, maybe we'll be doing more of the 4 hours, but either way, I'm going to be back, and I'm super excited for that. And you're hearing it here first. So, look out for that. And then the week of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which is I believe the week of the 14th. It might start on the 13th. But either way, that week I'll be at the Navigator Conference. I'll be speaking out there, and I am also going to be doing the podcast. So I'll be recording episodes with everyone. I will make sure to have the I Am 911 Championship belt. I'll have the strap out there, and I will also have my Jenga that my good friend Don Shumway got me. And I know you're probably like, it's Jenga. What does it matter? Well, because once you pull a block, before you put it up on top, turn it over, there's a question, and you have to answer the question. In the last year when I was out at Navigator, I recorded people giving their answers, and I'm going to be posting those up here soon. I just want to double check with them. Like, everyone had said yes, but I just want to double check to make sure everyone's okay with me sharing that, because some of those are pretty interesting. Some of the questions that were on there. And one of those questions was, you it's such a stupid question, but it says something to the effect of, you turn into a hot dog every day, or maybe it's once a week. I think it's once a week. You turn into a hot dog once a week. Would you rather it happen randomly, or would you want it to happen on a specific day in a specific time, basically so that you can plan? And everyone, of course, is like, I think maybe there's one or two people who have said that they would want it to happen randomly. And I always think it's hilarious to hear what everyone's thoughts are on that question. Because yeah, people are like, no, I would want it to happen when I'm coming home from work, so that when people are passing by, they can get freaked out and be like, was that a hot dog driving a car? But then other people were like, yeah, no, I want to make sure that it's on a specific day and a specific time. Like, what if I'm at like a funeral or something? Or what if I'm at a parade or something and that happens? Um, but then people took it a little further and they go, well, wait a minute. So if that happens, like, when I turn back into a human form, like, do I still have my regular clothes on, or am I naked? Like, what happens? I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's not part of the question. Like, I have no idea. Let's just imagine you're, you know, let's just say me, for example, I'm dressed in my bow tie and everything teaching, and then I turn into a hot dog, and I'm still in the same clothes, bow tie, but as a hot dog. And then when I turn back, I'm again still in regular clothes. But yeah, that's one of the questions. That's one of the questions in there. I think one of the other questions is, what celebrity do you hate for no reason? And people are like, I don't know. I don't know. I think one person said like Tom Cruise once, and I said, why? And they're like, I don't know. He's always running. I don't know. I'm like, okay. But yeah, there are questions like that. So if you're going to be at the Navigator conference, I will see you there. And the last thing I was going to do, I was going to ask a question, but we're over time right now. And I'm going to ask the question. You can comment, or you can send me an inbox or whatever, and I can share that. But this was also part of a video that I put out there. But the question was, how do you decompress? What do you do? Like, for me, in this video that I posted yesterday, I mentioned that what I like to do, or what I did, especially when I was in dispatch, is I would grill. Like, I love grilling food. I love cooking food, and just like the process of it. Excuse me. Could be, it was therapeutic. It's just like when I screen print, it's therapeutic. So I grilled some ribs. Well, I smoked some ribs yesterday, and oh my god, they came out amazing. But I was asking people, like, what are some of the things that you like to do to decompress? That was one of the things. Like, I would get out from a long from a midnight shift, and that is what I would do. Like, even in a blizzard, I would get home, Southwest Michigan. And what's funny is that someone on Facebook commented this and said, tell me you're from Michigan without telling me you're from Michigan. And it was in response to me saying, like, at 5 in the morning, even in a blizzard, I would go out to my back deck and I would shovel a path to get to my grill to grill steak for steak and eggs. And I might have a beer or two and put them right in the snow to keep them cold. And when people would pass by going to work, like I would see them looking at me and I would just be like, "Hi," as they're passing by. So it was hilarious. And that was just one of the things I would do. Or I would come home and I would play Rock Band and I would just be playing just the hitting the buttons, strumming, listening to the music as I'm playing the game would help me decompress. Now, a lot of people didn't know that. A lot of people at the time were like, "Damn, you played that game a lot." And I would go, "Yeah, I love the game." Well, what people didn't know was that it was also a way for me to decompress from a shift and just focus on the music, focus on the buttons, everything. And those were one of the things too, or doing yoga or meditation. That was more so towards the last year and a half that I was in dispatch, but that's what I would do. And I still do a lot of that stuff today, especially now with the screen printing and everything, all of that process. But like yesterday when I was smoking those ribs, oh, that was awesome. I just recorded a quick video. It's out there on all the social media platforms. Well, my personal ones. It's out there in the personal ones. And I was just asking people like, what are some of your favorite things that you love to grill or cook? Because sometimes cooking some of the food, that comfort food and stuff, just that process of going through it. Maybe sometimes you're doing it and there's kind of like a reflection on, a smell or something like that that takes you back. Like those are cool moments. So I was asking people like, what are some of the foods or what are some of the things that you do to decompress? Either way, that was the question. That's what I'm going to be leaving you with tonight. And I just want to say thank you so very much for being here with me tonight. I had a lot of fun with you. As always, I love doing open mic with you. And going into the closing, into the wrap up of this, how are you feeling now on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being shitty, 10 being awesome. How are you doing? How are you feeling? And yeah, we got that up in there. I'm all about that. That is good. I'm way above a 10. Again, I had a lot of fun with you. There's a lot of stuff happening the rest of this week. Episodes going out, editing, more content, and we've got the DRT coming up as well. Leah says, "Thanks, Ricardo. Great stories." Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. And also, thank you for everything that you do for our profession. Thank you. I love it. And I'm just happy that I'm able to do what I do, but also um, your trust in me to share your stories. It is a great honor. I say it, I mean it, and it has been an amazing experience. Over here, pretty damn good. Mahalo. Yes, right back at you. Thank you very much. And I I sometimes I think about it. I'm like, this is just the coolest thing and the most fun to be able to be here with all of you and just share stories, funny ones, hard ones, whichever, and just talk about shit and just forget about the bullshit that's going on in the world for about an hour or so and just talk and just learn from each other. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep it rolling. So again, thank you. This live broadcast has been sponsored by InDigital Leader Next Gen Core Services, and a big shout out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast. Thank you so much. But all of you who are here watching, listening, supporting, and sharing, because in all honesty, I wouldn't be able to do everything that I do if it wasn't for all of you and your support. None of this would be what it is without your support. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. It's an honor. If you ever want to be a guest on the flagship show Within the Trenches podcast, you can go to links.co/WTT podcast, and that's links with 2 I's.co/WTT podcast. When you go on there, just scroll a little bit, and there's a button that you can click on that, and that'll take you where to sign up to record an episode with me. And we'll go from there. So whether you are new to dispatch, seasoned, or retired, I would love to have you on and share your story out with literally millions and around the world, because the show is heard in over 60 countries and has been downloaded over 2.3 million times. And I have all of you to thank for that. And those out there who want to learn more about the 911 profession and hear your powerful stories. So thank you. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, as well as TikTok. And there are clips on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. There are clips all over the place, but all of it is there where you can check it out. And then to listen to the flagship show 24/7, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.